I don't know what episode this is. I don't remember updating.
DDG episode 222. My name is Dave. I'm joined by Michael.
I don't know what episode we're on. 222 sounds good. That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't recall saying 222 ever. So
yeah, so it must be. Yeah, we probably would have been like, oh, 222 when we said it. So yeah. You're right, Dave. This is episode 222.
Well, you changed the number on the screen. I just read what you write.
I don't remember changing it, Dave. I'm drunk half the time I do these show notes.
It's all good. So, all right. So we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that releases typically on Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time. I know that you guys are getting this one a little day late, but news was light. And as Wednesday afternoon was progressing, all of a sudden at I don't even remember, 3 or 4 o'clock, I was on social media for a second and I'm like, oh, State of Play Thursday. I'm like, I text Michael. I'm like, hey, you want to wait? And he's like, yeah, we probably should.
I was legit, as I was doing the show notes on Tuesday, was considering messaging you like, yeah, we might as well just skip this week because it was literally nothing on the agenda.
So they're kind of like this. We'll talk about it too, but the State of Play is kind of getting into that point where it's almost, we get almost as much notice as a Nintendo Direct now.
Yeah, it's 24-hour notice the last couple times.
So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just kind of, to me, tells me that when there's a 24-hour window, I'm like, okay, there's not a lot in here. And it was fine. So I mean, it's just, there's not going to be any like, oh my god.
No.
But yeah, so like I mentioned, we're Digital Days Gaming. You can watch us live on Twitch or YouTube. You can just search Digital Days Gaming on Twitch or on YouTube and we'll come up. You can subscribe on YouTube. That's free. You can follow on Twitch. That's free. You can subscribe on Twitch. That costs. You can alleviate that cost if you have Amazon Prime and you link it with your Twitch account and you get Prime Gaming. You get a free monthly sub that does not auto-renew. So thank you to those that continuously and consistently re-up their sub. But just, we don't have to be live if it's some way that you want to support us. I know a lot of you have Amazon Prime. But it does suck that it doesn't auto-renew. But just kind of, when you're listening right now, or just open Twitch real quick and go to us, just search us, and then just click sub, and you can do it from your phone. But if not, following and downloading the show, reviewing the show, all that stuff is ways to help grow the show, as well as just free ways to help support us. There are some other paid ways you can do that. Patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming is a way that you can pay us if you choose to. That's, again, you get a couple little perks with that. Nothing crazy. And then other than that, you can join our community. All the links are in the show notes, but I mean, the biggest one is our Discord and Facebook. You can check out those and join the community and talk games with us. And there's been some interesting conversations happening in the Discord over the time with collections for you and some other people. Some college football conversation with the game coming out in like a month and a half. And then just the stuff with Xbox that we talked about last week with their kind of their downfall. And there wasn't much chatter today, but and it's not really news, like super newsworthy, but Sony hasn't had a great 24 hours. Elden Ring DLC leaked. Some people were apparently able to, like, through the PlayStation Now system, were able to play all of the Destiny content that comes out next week.
Yeah, I saw that. Elden Ring's not necessarily, but then it leaked through them, right?
Yeah,
so,
through Sony. And then
they had some bad AI stuff come out.
And Herman Hulse was doing a shareholder thing where he was kind of talking about, like, their games as a service model of PC releases day and date for service games, and then the single player narrative driven stuff. And to me, and it's not really a new story, we don't have to get into a huge debate about it, but to me it just didn't sound genuine how he was talking about it. Like, oh, well, we'll put an older game on PC with hopes that they'll buy a PS5. Like, that's not really how a PC gamer works.
Realistically, it's a long shot. I feel like that was one of those statements, because we'll just talk a little bit now before we get into everything. That feels like one of those scenes where I've spoke to Herman before. Mm-hmm. You can tell his personality through his interviews. I feel like that was definitely a company line that he had to push out, because there's no way, like, as connected as he is with games and studios, that he would believe that like PC players would make that jump to a new console, because they can't wait the year, 2 years for the release.
There's no way that somebody's playing Ghost of Tsushima right now on PC, and then if they announce Ghost of Tsushima 2 in September, that they're like, oh, I'm gonna go buy a PS5. Like that's just
I
that's
can't
not
wait.
how they function. So
Yeah.
and I truly believe in my heart that Sony knows that. And it's just kind of one of those things where, yeah, like their goal is, one of their main priorities is to sell consoles and sell hardware. Like that's obvious, that's apparent. And to the counter is that Microsoft doesn't really seem to care. But one is working and one company is making money hand over fist, and then the other one is closing studios. So it's just hard to tell of like like on the surface right now, it's obviously PlayStation's strategy is working. But I would be very curious of what their strategy, how their strategy would look 4, 5, 6 years down the road, because there's also been more reports out there that Sony's using non-Sony owned studios to do stuff like Microsoft does.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those things where I don't think we're going to see day and date for single player games the PS5 generation, but I think it's going to become a real.
I think it's going to get closer, and we'll dig into it a little bit later. But Ragnarok is an illusion, or well, is Ragnarok going to be 2 years old by the time it comes out?
I think so. Just quite. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I think it's the beginning of it getting closer, because before we heard like 24 plus months. Now this one might technically be under 24 months. So like,
yeah, I think we're getting there as they build up their PC studios, because they really only they have.
I think by the end of the PS5 generation, it's going to be within a 6-month window. I think it's going to slowly get closer.
It's a thing that I think I talked about last week, the week before, of it'd be a really good strategy to bookend the year with, here's our March release, and then it's for PlayStation, and then here's our December release for that. Or you do it the other way, where it's like, hey, the holiday game is here, and then spring the following year is when you get the release on PC. But yeah, there was a whole thing. Did you see the Neil Druckmann stuff where Sony did an interview with him? It was like actual Sony reps, and they took too many things out of context to where they had to put out the whole statement, and then they ended up just redacting the entire story, which just is a baffling thing, because he didn't say anything like terrible, but it was just one of those things where it's like his statement seemed way more bombastic than it was.
This is what happens when creative people talk without handlers. Like,
no, but the problem is, like, if you look at the actual statement he made, because the day later he was like, here's my actual statement, it was like 3 paragraphs, and that's what happens when you let creators talk. They talk too much, put too much detail in, and then when they needed to break that down in a couple sentences, whoever was in charge of editing.
That's kind of what I mean. And I guess I didn't really dig into it too much, but like, was this just Druckmann kind of monologuing, or was somebody interviewing him?
Someone was interviewing him, but they let him go off for multiple paragraphs.
Right, and that's kind of what I was talking about. The brief times that I've had to interview people, like I've gotten the neck cut gesture, or I've gotten the literally in the middle of my recording, like, yep, we're not answering that. Like, or,
and this is one of those,
as much as people hate it, you and I have done it. Like, okay, hey, cool, we're gonna do an interview. What's off the table? And you kind of, and people are like, well, why do you ask that question? Because it's a waste of your time and my time. So, and I've lost some of that tangibility that I had in interviewing. I thought I was average at it. I always, sell myself a little short, but you can go back and look at, if you could find them, anything that I've done for, multiple games. I think the most recent thing I did an XDefiant interview, to where like the person I'm interviewing is like, oh crap, like this person plays. Like, and he plays, and he knows what he's talking about. He's not just spearheading questions, and then the dialogue changes a little bit. But again, at the same time, I can ask a question indirectly. Like I can skirt around borders, but to this point, where a couple times I've still been kind of like my PR person's like, knock it off.
No, I've definitely been in situations like that where you try and be respectful,
and I have a good enough relationship with some of them that they're like, knock it off. So
it's always funny when like the PR handler, this is super inside baseball, is kind of like, okay, this interview is going good, I'm going to be on my phone because I don't really have to listen to you interview the developer. But then as you start skirting around those questions, the phone goes away, and then they're paying attention, getting ready to be able to cut you off at any point when you go too far, or you piqued the developer's interest a little too hard, and they just want to go inside baseball the entire time. That's always fun, sort of aspect of interviewing people. And this is one of those things where they let Druckmann go off, and whatever the Sony website was trying to do, they cut it down too much to where he just came across uh not necessarily bad. It was a weird thing. You'd have to dive into it. But yeah, it's a weird thing that Sony did that to Druckmann, to where they kind of misquoted him and didn't, do that. Especially I think it was for Sony.com, which is like I didn't even know they like post content on that website like that. So just a weird thing. But let's get into some two quick news stories before we do a PlayStation State of Play recap. The first one is the first game from Rocksteady co-founders' new studio is reportedly being financed by Microsoft. So 100 Star Games, a studio founded by Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, have reportedly found their financer, and their first game will be coming to Xbox and PC. The studio is comprised of obviously those two and former Rocksteady employees. Apparently, a fair amount of ex Rocksteady employees, which makes sense if you think about it, based on how Suicide Squad turned out. And this is basically they're working on some sort of action game, and it's going to be for Xbox and PC. And whatever they have shown off, it was enough for Microsoft to throw the money down to be like, hey, console exclusive potentially, and also, your finances are secure. Work on your vision. Dave, thoughts on Microsoft grabbing studios outside, or like working with studios outside of their grand fucking Xbox Studios library?
Microsoft desperately needs reasons to play on their platforms, like desperately right now. Desperately. We know that they need a game cadence, and they need an exclusive, like their version of an exclusive game cadence. You and I have been talking about this for years. Like, this problem gets fixed with releases. Whatever you want to talk about, Mike, I don't care if you could release 6 games in a year and 2 of them are fantastic, 2 of them are average, and 2 of them are trash, and you're fine. So they need to increase their cadence. I don't blame this studio for what they just went through, because these two were there through this. We don't want to do Suicide Squad, and they were told to do Suicide Squad.
They bailed out rumors, like less than a year from Suicide Squad's release.
And I'm sure that they were pitching their game to Sony and to Xbox, and Xbox said, "Hey, what's it going to take to make it only for you to just work with us, to be a second party studio for them for this game?" And I immediately want, like I've been saying for a long time, I want Ninja Turtles. Like,
yeah,
they go into any room and they're like, "Hey, you remember the Arkham games? Oh yeah, those are amazing. Yeah, I did that."
Yeah, it's one of those things where like your dream could come true, because as we've found out over the last year or so, Nickelodeon is willing to like work. I think Nickelodeon just owns the Turtles now, but like they're fine licensing out the Turtles to any studio that wants to work with them, for better or worse.
Right.
So the idea that like if Microsoft wanted to go that route, they could. They also can go the Marvel route, since Marvel's handing out that license pretty thoroughly. So I can see them trying to stick in that realm. And especially if this studio wants to work with a license, the only way they can get the money for that is to partner with like a publisher.
And the thing that sucks the most is I would assume that DC is out, because DC's got that attachment to Warner Brothers, so that
they're former Warner Brothers.
I want to make a Superman game, which I think would be awesome. But to be honest with you, until you started talking about this story, when I skimmed through this story, I read it as Rockstar.
Oh yeah.
So, and then
the Rockstar
they left.
Former employee, they also just announced their first game is coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's for Rock Studios. It's pretty good.
But this mantra of like, oh, I can be independent and do what I want is not true. Like, we've seen it already immediately with Toys for Bob. Like, yeah, you can be independent, but at the same time, you need somebody to bankroll you. Like, you have to.
Especially if it's so hard to launch a new IP.
Yeah, and to your point, if they, like, I would buy this game knowing whatever character they tried to create or whatever story I think they tried to make it. But at this point in time in the gaming world, I don't think you can make a new single player IP Like, I just think people will be like, well, what's that?
I think you definitely could. I actually think
It
it's
would be
harder to make a
hard.
multiplayer game. I think it's harder to make a multiplayer
No, no,
game
no.
right now.
It's harder to make, but to just make a new, like, I don't. I'll just speak vaguely, like, oh, Super Dude, like, and to make a new character and new lore and to tell a unique story that's gonna hook people and want them to and put that on a box cover on cover art and put it on a shelf and hope it sells. That's hard. Versus
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I mean, it's very genre specific. Yeah. Like, if it's just like a regular crime or detective game, you can get away with that. But if you're trying to if they want to stay in the superhero genre, you have to have a license for that. Or you need to do something.
They can't just make. I mean, as much as I thought it'd be amazing to play, they can't just make a Blank Man game right now.
No. You can't do that. You can never do that. I like, this hasn't been confirmed or anything like that. But if they did sign this deal with Microsoft and it is for a licensed game, we'll probably get a teaser at the Xbox press conference. I doubt they have anything to show, but
it would be like a logo. If it is if it is a Superman game or a Ninja Turtles game, you'd get like a logo and an arm.
Yeah, that's basically,
maybe
all you
maybe a shoulder, like maybe a boob, like a look at a boob or something. I don't know.
It would be something random. I mean,
see, at least your buddy got my reference to Blink Man.
Yeah. So it is confirmed finally that Activision is making Black Ops 6. We talked about it last week. We were kind of like,
shocking.
Probably going to be Black Ops. They went on a whole,
like an hour after we stopped recording. They did that Mount Rushmore thing or whatever.
Oh God, yeah, that had a lot of controversy because they bought the front page of like USA Today, which confused a shit ton of people apparently that still read physical newspapers. But yeah, Black Ops 6 is the next Call of Duty game, and the bigger thing from this is it is day one Game Pass. So there was no announcement of like tier changes like there were rumors to be. That can still happen, but it is day one Game Pass, so that is huge. That in that like debate that was happening within Microsoft looks like someone won.
It had to. Like,
yeah, it definitely had to. But it is still risky. You're basically going to cannibalize your PC market potentially. Mm-hmm. You're not going to cannibalize your PlayStation market, but you are going to and the Xbox market just doesn't exist.
And I would just be curious about what the long-term play is, like how the microtransactions are going to look, how the seasonality is going to look, how the connection to, what's the battle royale that's blanking on me right now? The
Fortnite?
Warzone.
Okay.
How it connects to Warzone, because there used to be, at least if I remember correctly, there used to be connectivity between like the
could be teasers and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, but like in terms of your loot, I thought like things that you could earn in Warzone could be used in a current Call of Duty or vice versa. I feel
there's some sort of crossover.
Mostly, I think.
Yeah.
So I'll be very interested to see how that goes. I also think that this kind of, I mean, I know you said it could still change, but I think I didn't read the statement or the press release or anything like that. But based on what I saw on Twitter the last week or so, I think this does put to bed for now, at least until January of 2025, any changes to Xbox's Game Pass structure.
Yeah, I now it would probably be the debate on does it go to the core tier, which is probably not. It
right.
Probably won't.
I don't think. I think it said Ultimate and something. I'd have to find it.
Yeah,
but
I mean they can still change things before then. I think honestly Ultimate doesn't need to change, but Core probably needs to be changed some way or fixed up somehow. So it's not like too much of a drastic change that should need to happen, but they need to figure out what to do with Core, or just consider killing the Core tier period and just having Game Pass Ultimate. Because I don't think anyone's going to be too pissed. Like, oh, even if I don't have a PC, I'm getting access to the PC games. Like, no one's going to be pissed about that. But yeah, this is unsurprising. So there will be a showcase right after the Xbox press conference for this, and it'll be out this year. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what this looks like. Black Ops is like the safe bet for Call of Duty. So this again is not the most surprising news, though it was hilarious looking at that front page stuff and seeing people confused about it on Twitter with USA Today. But yeah, we'll find out more in just like 2 weeks, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is wild. We got to figure out recording schedules for Summer Game Fest and the Xbox press conference. But let's move on to the state of play. So PlayStation announced their state of play, and we'll just go through it. I think I have all the announcements just marked on here because for the most part there wasn't really any misses
Right.
with this state of play. So we'll start with the biggest one, which was the thing that started everything, and it is Concord got a cinematic trailer and a gameplay trailer. I believe betas in June or July, and the full game will release August 23rd. So we got to see cinematic trailer. It kind of had that like Marvel sort of dialogue-y,
Yeah, kind of
jokey
Guardians
stuff.
of the Galaxy vibe to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that. So takes place into space. You're like, what are they? Runners or something like
Yeah.
that. But ultimately, this is a 5v5 hero shooter.
A lot
but
of
there are
time spent on some cinematics. Like Overwatch kind of
yeah.
did this too, right? Like
Yeah, but they're kind of taking it to another extreme.
yeah,
So
weekly cinematics. I think they said.
yes, every week you'll get a new cinematic. Overwatch would just do it anytime a new character is revealed. There'd be
Yeah.
like a 5-minute cinematic related to that character. But I honestly, that was one of the more intriguing things
Mm-hmm.
about this, of like that is a creative way for a multiplayer only game to
Yeah.
deliver a story and also potentially get people to come back to the game. Though in this day and age, you're just going to go to YouTube. Like if you fell off the game, you're just going to pull that cinematic off YouTube. But yeah, no, this took like a good 10, 12 minutes of the 30-minute state of play, and we got to see a decent amount. Again, 5v5 multiplayer FPS game, and some of the things that they talked about were like some of the gameplay modes, and like just interesting things like the deployable like gear you can have. That
Match
it
over
actually,
match, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that like over death over match.
So I think you and I
will
are going to have a
stay.
very interesting dialogue about this game because I think I have a good feeling that we're both going to play it. It'll be my first true like swing at a I guess like the hero shooter genre. And the reason that I want to swing at it is because there is a lot of former Bungie people working on this game. So
Yeah,
the shooting mechanic will probably be amazing.
Yeah, and I do think like it being a hero shooter, I did get the Overwatch vibes from it. And I don't know if I quite like
Yeah.
that, but they're doing some different things. They talked about like because deployable gear, you know, we're talking about like health packs, walls, that sort of
Yeah.
thing will last, you know, over your death, over your match, you know, round to round sort of thing. That could be pretty big in terms of strategy in how you're playing things, because I'm just so used to games just like, oh, I put this portal down or this health thing down and I'm dead, so it's going to reset so I could do it again. Them adding that little bit of strategy to that potentially, where you'll be able to
you got to play with the squad. You can't really just play with randoms, but you know, like
potentially. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's probably just going to be a deathmatch mode and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and depending on like how interesting these mechanics are that are attached to these heroes.
What did you think
will
about
be.
the abilities that they were showing? Like, I mean, I know that like a lot of times, like you and I are like, I really like gunplay, I like weapons, but again, I got, at least with the map layouts that I was seeing, I got a lot of Destiny vibe from the map layouts in terms of the.
No, yeah, I saw. What is Destiny's multiplayer game? Multiplayer called
Crucible.
again? Crucible. I got Crucible vibes from this. I got Overwatch vibes from Apex vibes as well. So it looks like it is like all of that mixed together. Gunplay is the thing I'm probably most interested in, because I'm so used to so many games just having hero mechanics. I mean, they literally had a hero mechanic game revealed or for consoles like 3 trailers after this. So like hero abilities, like the special power stuff, that doesn't really interest me too much, because it's probably good. I'm probably whatever abilities we see for each character, I will have a Overwatch or Apex character that I can relate that to.
Yeah, I guess I was more talking to maybe about like at least what Destiny players call like the neutral game, like out of your ult, like and not building towards your ult, like your grenades or your like.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm most interested in. Is that gunplay going to be good?
That's what a lot of these like a lot of the like the people that were on that they were talking during this reveal are people that I've had Destiny conversations with in person, like Claude Jerome and Hambrick. Like these guys built the Destiny sandbox for years, and the little bit that I've heard of, I always constantly heard about Overwatch kind of being out of balance.
It was a game that constantly needed balancing.
Yeah.
And that's hero games are like that. Like this will never be able to escape that.
Right.
Because if you have certain characters with special abilities, they talk specifically how they looked at fighting games.
Yeah.
And how they made characters match up with other characters. And that can sometimes get into a mess because then that's going to create a meta, which will then create like annoying.
Destiny has a meta too, so.
Yeah, but when it comes to hero stuff, it becomes very toxic in terms of like, oh, they have a Hanzo, so you can't play your character. You got to play the alt. You know.
So at its core, though, with the stuff that you saw, though, with it being 5v5, is there essentially only 5 classes? And then there's, I mean, right now, do you think there's only 5 characters? Or I saw more, but they almost looked like more kind of variants of what we already saw.
No, so it's going to probably be like Overwatch, where there's like 3 class types. There's healer, or support, DPS, and tank. And then there's like, 5 characters for each class. It's going to be like that sort of thing. I'm assuming they're going to build around cosmetics because they have some interesting character designs that cosmetics would really work well off of.
Is this free to play?
Honestly, I wasn't paying that much. Oh no, they said there's a pre-order bonus you get into the beta, so that would mean that you're paying for this. I would assume is how that's going to work.
After the state of play today, I guess I could check if it's on the store.
No, pre-orders start in June, I believe. So like a lot of their stuff, they said like pre-orders starting in June, which is a little weird that it's just like, oh, we're waiting for pre-orders. But I guess they don't want people talking about price for certain stuff, because they also did that with Astrobot, where it's like, hey, pre-order start in June, and everyone's wondering like, how much is Astro going to cost because it was free last time. So I don't know how they're going to handle that price wise. I would hope you go the Overwatch route,
which is like the $40 price tag, right?
Yeah,
$40 to $50 tag.
Yeah, for the first Overwatch at least. Especially if there's going to be competitions in this space.
And then you season it too, right? You have like season passes that they can earn in-game currency for, or drop like $10 to $12 on, right?
Yeah. And then you can earn different cosmetics and stuff like that. Hopefully they don't make the mistake Overwatch 2 did of like you're unlocking new characters with your battle pass, season pass. Because again, you're going to need a lot of content to keep this game going, especially with the amount of competition that there is. But I have to say, August 23rd is a release date. Is a really smart release date for this.
Yep, it's a great time.
You imagine Call of Duty is going to be October, so that's a good couple months for people to get stuck on this game and not maybe make that jump to Call of Duty. Especially this year, you're going to have a lot of like PlayStation fans that are going to be like, fuck Call of Duty because it's day one on Game Pass.
Or there's enough time to be like, hey, it's time to take a little break from Concord. Oh, Call of Duty's out. Okay, you play Call of Duty till Thanksgiving, and then your buddies jump back on Concord on holiday break. So. And
then especially if, Concord keeps like the cinematics every week for several weeks, it could be one of those ones where it's like, oh, you know what? I haven't checked into Concord in a couple weeks. And then you have like, hey, here's like 5 weeks worth of cinematics for you to catch up on, and hopefully that gets you enough to be like, hey, I care about these characters.
It looked great, and I was surprised at the turnaround time from, like, we just talked last week or 2 weeks ago on their earnings where they said it's coming out this year, and I think we all said August, September, but without seeing it, we didn't know what it was. That's a very quick
that's what we wanted.
Is August, it's a very, September. Very quick turnaround. I'll be very curious of how the beta feels.
Yeah, this is going to be... This game looked good. I don't know if the characters and stuff like that I liked, because it felt very generic, like we've seen this before, character personality wise. But this is going to be one of those games where it could either do really well or it disappears.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if there's an in between for this.
But do you care from a first person shooter standpoint? I think a lot of people do care, but like what he looks like when you're playing.
No, I don't care too much how it looks when it's playing, but I'm just talking about like if you're gonna make cinematics like a weekly thing, am I gonna care about the characters? That sort of thing.
Do you think there's gonna be any variety of guns?
I think so. I think you're gonna get variety from character to character. I don't think you're gonna be able to. You're not picking up the healer's gun sort of thing. If this is a true like hero thing, like your gun's gonna be specific to your class, or guns are specific to your class. But that's all I could tell from that. But there's going to be a beta like a month or 2 before this game comes out. And I will probably bite the bullet and do the pre-order for it, just for science purposes.
It's a very tight window from beta to launch, though. Very, very tight.
Which shows me confidence.
Yeah, or
in
concern.
like what the game is.
Like, because then if it comes out and or the beta's rough, they're like, oh, this is coming out in a month.
I think because this is like PlayStation's like, you know, Helldivers is his own bucket for me.
Helldivers is a second party. They own Firewalk.
Yeah.
Sony
Yeah,
owns
so
Firewalk. So
I would imagine this is more of a confidence move
yeah.
of like, let's
I
just
hope
get
it
this
is.
out.
I hate being the devil's advocate on this kind of stuff, but a lot of times when these betas and alphas, like in the Ubisoft world, were so close to launch, it just didn't result well.
Yeah. X Defiance kind of define Nozats a little bit, kind of.
It's doing well. It's doing really well. So.
Yeah. So like maybe they can learn from that. And also this is one of those things where an August release date means it'll give time for X Defiant to cool down, which it will cool down.
Yep.
All multiplayer games do. And again, it's got a couple months before Call of Duty comes out. So it's got a window to succeed.
Kudos to Sony though, leading the show with this. And giving it a significant 40% of the time. 35, 30, 40% if it was 15.
Yeah. So smart move for them to put this first, because I don't know if it was big enough to be like the showstopper.
Correct.
Or so it's good that they put it like in the front. The next thing that followed it is a God of War Ragnarok coming to PC September 19th. This will require PSN on PC. That is the big thing that came out of this. But yeah, God of War Ragnarok PC looks beautiful. Dave, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I never finished it on console.
Yep, same. I kind of fell off on it.
It kind of looked really pretty, like with some of the stuff with what my PC may or may not do. I don't really think my personal PC is very much more powerful than a PS5. But I did look. So God of War Ragnarok came out November 9th, 2022. So it's close to just the 24-month window.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So yeah, this it looks gorgeous. It's gonna have the Valhalla DLC cool. Already in it. So that's a smart move for them. I don't think they've broken any of that. Like everything's been like the complete version that comes out. But yeah, September 19th. So PlayStation, slowly kind of building up their holiday. Nothing crazy in terms of things that are releasing for their holiday launch. Definitely not as good as previous years, but starting August with Concord, bringing the PC people in September, that's building pretty well. Next thing we got Dynasty Warriors Origins. This is coming out in 2025. Dynasty Warriors is just one of those franchises that I don't think me and Dave are really into. They are cool to see how many people they can get on screen to get diced up. But yeah, this is Dynasty Warriors. Yeah, I'm sorry if anyone really loves Dynasty Warriors. Just
continuation of what I would call, just from my understanding, it's just really solid, fun games. Yeah,
not like technically they kind of barely run sometimes, but like people do enjoy them. There's a reason there's like 20 of them. And it almost feels like your console is not complete until you get like an original Dynasty Warriors game on your PlayStation console. So hey, PS5's made it. The next thing we got is Infinity Nikki, which is like an anime dress-up game that is like, I guess, a sequel to a mobile dress-up game. This looks super weird. It was very much focused on like the fashion. I think that is the main focus of this game. Like that's what you're actually trying to do is build out different fashion for your characters. I don't remember much of this
trailer, so I must have tuned out.
Yeah, no, I'm not too sure. But the trailer ended with an announcement of a test in Q3 2024. So I have no idea what this is going to be. Didn't really interest me. I was slightly interested in the weirdness, but overall, this will probably be something I skip. But hey, it might be something you're into. Next up, we got an action RPG, Ballad of Antera. So this was like very dark looking trailer. Some of these games kind of blended together.
Yes.
That they shown. And I feel like that is just kind of like the style of games that are being able to produce pretty rapidly right now. Are these games that are coming out of like Japan and Korea and stuff like that. Because the games aren't really focused on fidelity. So these games are kind of able to release more frequent than like some of the other games that, like more Western studios are trying to accomplish. But this looked like it could be interesting in another kind of like samurai-ish sort of game. And this is expected in 2025. After that, we got Skydance's Behemoth and Alien Rogue Incursion. These are PSVR 2 games, so PSVR 2 got some love. There's been a lot of talk about PSVR 2 the last couple weeks, with PC support sounding like it's coming very very soon. So we got 2 more PSVR 2 games coming. Dave, we're still in the same boat with PSVR 2. We're not quite interested until PC support comes out.
Yeah, and then they're not really showing me anything that's like, oh, I really want to play that. So
the biggest thing that's going to sell me on PSVR 2 is that PC support. So anything they show right now is just like, yeah, I'll remember that for later. After that, we got Marvel Rivals. So this is the other 5v5 shooter that is an Overwatch clone. It is going to get a closed beta in the summer, and it will fully launch sometime after that. I think it's actually an alpha, not a beta. This is the game coming from NetEase. It's coming to PS5, and it's going to most likely come to Xbox, because on their official website, this says consoles. And PlayStation is going to get a Scarlet Spider-Man skin as an exclusive.
I think this
like
just
skin.
ultimately ties to the connection of Sony owning Spider-Man. Like,
Yep,
like
100%.
This is oh, yep, it's coming to our consoles. Okay, so we get something exclusive Spider-Man. What? Oh, you want Spider-Man in your game? You got to give us something. What? It's in our contract. It's tattooed on my wrist, bro.
Yeah, yeah, because like Spider-Man was already in the game, so it's just like, hey, here's an exclusive skin, because like you said, they have to get something. But yeah, this game still looks good. Like from what I saw, it looks fun. They showed Adam Warlock and Venom for the first time being played, though people data mined that information that those characters are in the game already. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on this game when it comes to consoles and at beta or alpha, because it could be fun. This could be the thing that like throws Concord for a loop, especially the alpha beta are going to be happening around the same time.
Yeah, they're just going to cannibalize each other. Like one's going to win and one's going to die.
Yeah, I mean that happened with Overwatch and Battleborn. I mean, Battleborn was not a good game, but yeah, it wasn't helped by Overwatch's release. So this will be one of those games that will potentially be an obstacle for Concord. But there's also like, we only know that a beta or an alpha is coming. We don't know when the full game is releasing, right. So it could be could be a while.
And I think this one is free to play.
Yes, I believe so. This is free to play. So again, could be an issue, especially if they're lined up. But it's kind of funny though, because like if you're Firewalk, you're a Sony first party studio, and you see PlayStation working with Marvel Rivals for exclusive skins and content and promotion, you're probably just like, come on, what the fuck are we doing? Like, you don't want to make it difficult for Marvel Rivals, but you definitely don't want to help them get a boost.
Ooh, Spider-Man's in the game with exclusive skin. I don't know who the guy with the suction cup, the suction vacuum for an arm is.
That's one of those things you have to watch out for. After that, we got another trailer for Where Winds Meet. This is a Souls-like game. This kind of bled into that other trailer for the game we mentioned earlier for me. Didn't stick out too much for me, but again, it's one of those games where you can definitely tell it's like gameplay over fidelity sort of thing. So I would probably need to see extensive gameplay, especially if this is going to be Souls-like, because Souls-like, you want nice solid frame rate. You want the gameplay to be like tip top as much as you can, at least steady, because Souls games are 30 frames. But yeah, no window for release was announced for this game at all. It was just an additional trailer. The next thing is Until Dawn remake coming to PS5 and PC, and that will be happening in fall 2024. Dave, are you an Until Dawn fan? I liked Until Dawn when it originally came out. I'm glad it's getting its second wind.
Never played it. I've heard some interesting things about it. I think when I like a lot of the stuff, I think actually back in the day when like Josh Langford played it, it looked interesting. These upgrades kind of make me want less desire to play it, just because it kind of looks like a little bit more, or I guess a little bit less campy. Even though it's probably the same. I'm sure it's like the same story and the same, but I think sometimes the way something looks kind of also ties into the theme they're going for. you know. So I think it kind of moved a little bit farther away from I Know What You Did Last Summer, maybe to more of a little bit more of a horror genre instead of you know, like a teen soap opera horror thing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the story's still intact there, so I don't
Right.
think you have too much
Yeah.
fear of that. But I know like this it might be a fidelity thing, you know, where it's just like too high resolution for you, where you're just like, oh, you know, when it was on a PS4 and it was kind of like running shitty, like it had a charm to it.
Yeah.
So when you see the game running solid, you're just like, oh, okay.
That blood's a little too bloody.
Yeah, this looks good. I'm glad.
I couldn't tell what it was originally though, because I didn't really. Did I miss it? Like where it said remake or remaster, or did it?
It said it at the end, but like as soon as I heard the voices and saw
yeah.
some of the character models,
I mean, I recognize. I thought at first, like, because again, I never played the first one, so and I don't remember much of anything. Seeing anybody else play it, I was like, is this a like a Until Dawn : like sequel or something? And it wasn't. And then when I saw the little trailer card, I'm like, okay, does that say 2 next to it? Does that say I didn't see anything, and I was just like, okay.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I think Until Dawn it has an interesting story in terms of PlayStation sent the game out to die because Order 1886 sucked earlier that year. And no one cared about Until Dawn until like 2019, almost around the pandemic, where like streamers picked up on it and it got like this whole second wind. So I recognize the game a lot from that time period of like when streamers took it over.
Because the studio that made it is not even remaking it, right?
No, they didn't own the IP. That was PlayStation's.
Okay.
But just the fact that the game is actually going to get like another chance. It is kind of funny though, because I feel like anyone who did like want to come back to Until Dawn once it, you know, took off by streamers, had a PS4, could still play it on PS4.
Probably had it on Plus.
Yeah, and
I probably own it, to be honest with you. Like,
yeah, no, you definitely do. And it's just kind of funny from the aspect of like this is almost feels like PlayStation being like, fuck, we could have cashed in when people were playing this 5 years after it released, and now they're finally cashing in by re-releasing it as like a full priced product on PS5. Even though you could just take your PS4 disc or PS4 download and play it on your PS5. But coming out PC day one is a good move for that, because this game will probably be fun as hell modded with all the wacky things you could do on PC. So I imagine
turn the main villain into Chucky or something.
Yeah, you could do so many random things, and I think that's where like PC players already played this game, or not, or streamers already played this game once and probably played it to death, and now they're going to get another chance to do it on PC with mods, and it's going to get a whole another life just from that.
It'd be something cool. They kind of went away from it. I haven't been paying enough attention to it, but it'd be kind of cool sometimes when you kind of let chat dictate like what kind of happens in the game. Sometimes when like they use some games had a stream mode where like even if you're hidden, like you can still make the guy find you, you know, like
yeah.
So I think if they could figure that out, but it's probably too hard in this kind of game. But those games are always kind of interesting when you can mess with a, you know,
I believe
the, streamer,
the original studio that made Until Dawn, their other games, the Dark Pictures anthology, I believe they built those aspects into it. So it would be like Ballistic Moon, I believe, is the developers of this one. It'd be a matter of like how much time and resources they get to like do something. And
can you make it work when you're streaming from PS5 as well as? Is it a Twitch connection, or is it a PC Twitch connection? You know
what's funny though? I remember there were some PS4 games that had Twitch integration.
I do too.
They could affect it, so it's
what
something that's still
at Dead Nation at one point in time. You could send stuff. You could send extra.
Yeah, I believe Dead Nation, something like that, and then there's a couple other horror games that had that ability. So we know the technology exists.
I missed some
console.
of those small touches. I never got to experience any of them, but I guess like Alien, the Alien Predator game or whatever, like that was bad on PlayStation. It could hear your like making if you made personal noise, like your like your actual like if you gasped, like the controller, the controller picked it up or something. So
yeah, there's a couple of like indie games that came out on PlayStation that also had the ability of like, hey, the microphone will be picked up if you have your microphone on. And that stuff was always kind of cool. It never works perfectly,
right?
But when it does work, it's really cool. The next thing we saw was Path of Exile 2. It's going to get early access release later this year. And this is going to have like couch co-op, cross progression, across consoles and everything. This is an isometric RPG. Honestly, Dave, I saw this and I was like, yeah, I'm fine moving on. It looks good.
I
Doesn't
think
look
PlayStation
bad.
supports keyboard and mouse now for some games, so I think this is kind of cool. I think you can PS5 now supports keyboard and mouse. So this
It's always has, I believe.
yeah, but this definitely screams keyboard and mouse to me. But
Yeah. Uh, so after that, we got Silent Hill 2 remake launching October 8th. We got a good, nice extended trailer, and then right after the State of Play, Konami on their YouTube channel had a Silent Hill transmission that dove a little bit deeper. So we got to at least see a better look at like the character models and a decent amount of gameplay for this. The game looks good from the gameplay perspective, but I thought the character models didn't look great. Some of like the faces seemed off, and like just some of the movement. I don't know. It's
yeah,
hard to explain.
it gave me some Resident Evil 3 vibes.
Yeah, but not unless they're like the good
Right.
like remake vibes.
No,
I don't
like
know.
original RE3.
Oh,
Like-
okay, yeah. It was just like in that initial like when like the guy and a girl are talking, it just felt like their shoulders and arms were just kind of weird and like too boxy moving. It just didn't look natural. It looked natural in gameplay when they're moving, but something in the cutscenes just made them not look too good. This is obviously like Bloober's biggest game that they've ever made, and they're working within the constraints of like we're remaking a classic. So this is going to be a tough sell for a lot of people. As someone who's not the biggest Silent Hill fan, I this didn't really do anything to sell me. Or I like Silent Hill, but I'm just not really interested in like replaying Silent Hill. I don't know if this did anything to sell me on it like day one, as opposed to like waiting on it. So I need to catch the transmission. I didn't get to watch that just to see if anything would sell me on it. Gameplay wise, it looked good. Like that flowed pretty nice. It's just something about like that initial cutscene just didn't do anything for me.
I guess it kind of, and I don't play them enough to speak on this. Maybe you can speak on it a little bit better than I can. But like, is there a replayability to this horror genre? You know, like do you want to play through Until, like, would you want to play through Until Dawn again 4 years later just because it looks better? Would you want to play Silent Hill because like Silent Hill 2's been out, correct?
Since the PS1.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so Until Dawn at least has different choices you can make. You can have different people survive. So that has like a significant amount of replayability. What makes Silent Hill 2, the OG Silent Hill 2, replayable is it's a classic. And it's one of those things where you're not going to get a different ending or anything like that, or at least I don't think. But it is like, at the time it was perfection for the genre,
right?
And that carries replayability for years to come.
But for 20 years,
it has. Yeah, there's people that play that game like yearly. I know like one of our friends like plays this game yearly, holds their original copy, like it's
but
very
is he
important.
is she gonna play this game, this remake, day one?
Yeah, they will. And it's gonna be the most critical person playing this game day one are the people that love the first Silent Hill 2. And I think Silent Hill 2 might have been a PS2 game. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's fine.
But it's
still over 15, 20 years old. So
yeah. This is one of those sort of games, these remakes that are very difficult to do and pull off because
this is a no-win. This is like Dead Space remake. Like similar.
Yeah, but even that, like even that is different because like there are people that haven't played this game in 15, 20 years that have an idea of how that game looked and felt that is completely wrong.
Right.
You know, because they're just thinking back to the nostalgic times. So you're going to have those people that are going to be like, oh, this is janky, or why'd the story go in that route? This sucks. And it's going to be like, well, no, that the story goes in the same route it did back in the day. It's janky like it was back in the day. Yeah. You just have
take off your rose-colored glasses there, buddy.
Yeah, no, yeah. And that's going to be the tricky thing for this remake is already going into it. People weren't happy with the studio that was making it because, you know, it's a studio that kind of pulls the same trick over and over again. So you're going to have that like tilt going against it. And then you're going to have people that are battling nostalgia
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have the people that do replay the game like every year for Halloween, who were just like, no, it's not the same. It's not perfect like it was before.
But I also like my question ultimately comes down to like we've talked about for years: is this going to move new player units?
Probably. Yeah, I think it will. It's just a matter of like how many.
Yeah, like is my 25-year-old son going to go buy this? And when Silent Hill 2 came out before he was born.
Honestly, if they get the right streamers, because it's a horror game coming out in October, so like they're doing everything they can to get this.
I just feel like this has headlines all over. Konami disappointed with sale ratio.
I mean, honestly, that's probably inevitable. But also, I think that's also a reason they gave it the Bloober team to probably keep that cost down.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, the studio's not that big, therefore they're not going to cost as much money to pay them to make this, and there's things that Konami probably did to dampen that blow when they come out and say like it didn't sell well or didn't meet the expectations. But it has a shot. October is like the best time to release this, and you will have people buying this because they just want to see if they were successful, and that could lead to really good sales for the first month and no tail for the months after that.
Yep.
So we'll see how that.
I just don't see people giving this to somebody and wrapping it up under the tree. Sorry.
I know people that would probably be. This is one of those things where someone will end up getting it for their significant other. Like, hey, I got that game that you played as a kid and you didn't know it was remade, or like a parent buying it for the kid of like, this was my game back then. Fuck that Five Nights at Freddy bullshit.
Yeah, it's like me coming home in the middle of July and Angela going, hey, I was at the store and I saw college football on the shelf. I bought it for you.
Yeah. And this will be one of those things, especially like you might have someone who is like, hey, you like Five Nights or whatever horror game's popular. Let me show you Silent Hill 2, and their kid's like, this game looks like shit because they're playing the original Silent 2. And then this remake comes out and you're like, well, hey,
here, play this one that works with dual analog.
yeah. It's one of those things of like, hey, this has better rumble.
Yes,
this has
before anybody comes at me, the PS2 had dual analog. I know that. Leave me alone.
I know. But it could be one of those things where will be an introduction to the younger generation who couldn't get into Silent Hill because it's an old game.
It's obviously jarring enough conversation between you and I that we're spending almost as much time on this as Concord. So.
Yeah. But we'll move on. After that, we got Monster Hunter Wilds. This was some story, some gameplay, pretty decent trailer. This is still coming in 2025. There is some save file bonuses for people that have Worlds and Iceborne.
Yes,
I believe it was the other one.
Yeah, it was. Iceborne was attached to Worlds, but it was like a separate, like an expansion.
It got its own disc release too, but it was an expansion. Monster Hunter World was one of those games that neither one of us expected to really dive into. So
it held my attention for about 90 days. This looks cool. For me, this game 100% comes down to who of my core group of friends that I play games with is getting it. And if they can fix what I remember to be a very, very clunky multiplayer experience. Very clunky.
Yeah, just like, okay, I posted the job.
Yeah, are you far enough? Are you far enough through the game? Are you at the same spot? Like, this is kind of that terrible co-op experience of like, oh well, you can play with me, but you won't progress. Like, not to that extent, but it's like, I'm 2 missions ahead of you. You can't play with me. I can't go back and play with you.
Yeah, the worst part about it was
it's a clipboard, right? It was like a bulletin board. You had to say, play with me.
It was a job posting, and then you'd be like, oh, I'm on that mission. Oh, it's like, cool, I just finished that mission. Let me join you, or let me join your game. And it's like, oh, I can't join you. Why? Oh, I didn't watch the cutscene yet. Sort of like weirdness like that. I have imagined it's Monster Hunter still going to have some of that stuff, but I'm hoping there'll be at least some stuff they can break away from that.
Yeah.
But this looks good. This will probably be a day one. This will probably be the thing that triggers me into getting a second PS5. Because me and Sarah played a lot of Monster Hunter
maybe
Worlds.
The Pro will be out by then.
Hopefully. I mean, someone in our Discord pointed out that there might be a Pro teaser in the Astrobot trailer. Which I ended up watching and zooming in multiple times to be like, God damn it, you might be right.
See, Brandon, you got him.
Yeah. He might be right. He should tweet that out, screenshot it, and get himself trending. But yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds will probably be the thing that gets me to get a second PS5,
Yeah.
even if it has crossplay or anything like that.
It looked really cool. The monsters obviously look amazing. They're the focal point of it. If I recall correctly, like some of the stuff that kind of intrigued me enough was and I kind of hate this in other games, but for some reason it just felt like it fit in Monster Hunter. The over the top collaborations, like the Street Fighter stuff and the like
that stuff was so good. It was wacky, made no sense, but it was so good.
Yeah, it's just, but if they do just as an example, if you, like when they do the Ghostbuster Destiny thing, I'm like, come on, really? But then when I sit there and see like, oh, I can have, I don't even remember what it's called. I can have a pet that looks like Blanca from Street Fighter or from E Honda. I'm like, that's cool. And then like, like I just have no standard for why it does or doesn't seem like it fits. And I'm like,
because I mean, Monster Hunter, like your cat cooked your food that you took on missions. So like you can accept that as opposed to Destiny being like, is that Nathan Drake in this game now?
Yeah,
like,
so it's like
yeah, no, I get that. There's certain games that you're fine with crossovers, other games you're not, which is understandable. But this looked good. This will be a day one, even though they haven't really shown much. I'm hoping we get like some individual streams from Capcom that kind of go over the multiplayer experience if there are any changes, which I'm hoping there's significant changes to the multiplayer. And who knows? I didn't really get into Iceborne. So there could have been some stuff in there.
I think if they can clean up some of that stuff of like, even for me as a end game, like as a post campaign player, I understand those games. I love playing the end game of these kind of games. I still struggled with understanding what I was like going after or what I was farming. Now that might have just been a Dave issue at the time, a lack of understanding of Monster Hunter issue. But if they can clean that up to where it's like, hey, go do this, like every game can do a little bit of a better job of like, hey, congratulations, you finished the campaign. Oh, cool, I can walk away. But to where it's like, no, there's other stuff to do and there's reasons to do it. If they can really kind of clean that up for what I would refer to as the casual player, I think it has amazing potential.
Yeah. In the chat, someone did say the Silent Hill has multiple endings. Okay. Which I completely forgot about. It might have been one of those things where I played it as a kid, and done.
Say, hey, you played it before you could drive a car.
Yeah. I played it when it actually originally came out, and it was probably a Blockbuster Hollywood Video rental. So
I played it once. I beat it. It's got to go back. I'm gonna get charged.
Not enough time. I'm not paying for the 7-day rental. Only the 3-day rental. But yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds 2025. The last trailer, which I think this is the thing most people were the most excited about, including myself. Astrobot is coming September 6th. It's a full paid game. The game will feature 6 galaxies, over 80 levels, 15 new playstyles, and a ton of Easter eggs. This looked fantastic. I love the original Astrobot on the PS5. That was such a great free pack-in game, and seeing it get a full release is beautiful, pending price. But dude, this was the best way to end the showcase. I think something fun. If you didn't have a big announcement, this seemed like this was like the best way to end it. Put something fun.
It definitely gave me some Mario Brothers vibes aspect to it, of like kind of like Mario Brothers and Sly Cooper Ratchet boss fight kind of things, where you're kind of in like the bosses at the back of the screen and you're kind of paying attention to the front of the screen. And then like we already saw some of the Easter eggs of like I didn't see I saw what I thought was the PS5 coming out of the ground or whatever. But the journey and the Parappa the Rapper things kind of like drew my attention more than anything.
The Nathan Drake one, like hilarious. So many cool things in this stuff. It looks like the controller is going to be a ship sort of thing. There's so many little aspects from this that looked great, and I'm looking forward to this. And I, as someone who's constantly like, I want smaller experiences from PlayStation. I want them to take more chances. This is a day one buy for me, just so like this will encourage PlayStation to do some games like this from time to time. Not everything needs to be the gigantic AAA third-person open world game.
I miss their state up or their spotlight days of the Guacameles. That's the one that keeps coming to mind though. Like the super the Drinkbox Studio games where they were really kind of showcasing things. And Astrobot is owned by Sony and is a first party. But I'm with you. Like I look at some of these games and I'm like, I don't want to commit, 30 to 50 to 80 hours of my life into this.
So I don't want a story about like the fucking world ending
Yeah.
or some sort of apocalypse. Like I just want to have fun with a platformer, and I know the first Astrobot game succeeded in that. It was like super easy platinum that I got like
Yeah.
with the first weekend of having a PS5 or something. So like this was perfect thing. And again, I want PlayStation to go back to the days where you had Japan Studio and you
Yeah.
had, the Santa Monica Studio making smaller games from time to time. Like this is the type of stuff that like is why I'm a PlayStation fan. Like I'm wearing a fucking PlayStation shirt right now. I have PlayStation characters behind me. Like
Right.
this sort of thing is why I became a PlayStation fan, and I just want more of this, regardless of how it even turns out. The only thing that would like make me hesitate if this is a $70 game.
Right.
You better give me an Astrobot plushie if this is going to be $70.
Yeah.
But it looked good. And it was one of those things where there were so many like things in the trailer. I can't wait to watch someone break this trailer down. It was only like 2 minutes, but I'm sure there's someone who's going to spot every single Easter egg. Because like the PS5's accounts or is a spaceship
Mm-hmm.
for some of the bad guys. You're flying on your controller. I kind of hope that they do a thing where your controller will change color depending on like the controller you have plugged in or the controller you're using. It'd be cool if that ship would change based on which PS5 you have, whether it's the slim model, the original, or if the Pro comes out. There's so many cool things that like they could do with this game, and based on that first Astrobot game, I know they're capable of doing. So this is one of those things where like this was a proper way to end this, and it is kind of crazy that like this made the state of play worth it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are upset that there weren't bigger games announced at the state of play, but for me this was perfect.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that is it for our news. As we're an hour and 10 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
We're gonna go through some of these questions pretty quick. So we did get a handful of questions as we're leading up to Summer Game Fest of predictions or questions that you want to submit to us. So Josh, I think he put this in Discord, his prediction for the Xbox Showcase, which we will record again before that comes out. So Alan Wake DLC and an announcement of Steam release and physical disc. I think that might be inevitable, just because of, with the success it had. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can see this popping up at Summer Game Fest in terms of DLC for Alan Wake. Even though they're really busy with like the 4 or 5 other projects Remedy's working on, I still think it's possible. I do think we're gonna get like a limited runs. Usually do their own like E3 Summer Game Fest showcase. That's probably where you'll get a physical copy of Alan Wake 2 is through like limited run games, which I know as someone who makes purchases from limited run, that's not the company you want to release it because it takes forever. But yeah, Steam release makes sense because it's been almost a year since it came out on Epic Games Store. So I'm assuming the Steam release should be coming out sometime this year, and then physical release is inevitable, but it's going to be through limited run.
Right. And Stefan writes on Facebook, will there be a surprise remake of the first Uncharted? I hope so. That game was so amazing. It was amazing. I don't think so.
No, unfortunately, if any Uncharted thing, the only thing I can think of for a remake is a reboot. Or
no, they do. They redo.
They do
4.
5.
I'm saying they remake 4 because they've already.
They already did.
Yeah,
they got a PS5 re-release.
That's right. Okay, I was thinking the Legacy Collection only had 1, 2, and 3 in it. So.
No, that's the Nathan Drake collection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only thing Uncharted we get is a Uncharted 5, and that might not be from Naughty Dog.
Right, it wouldn't be. I don't think so. Not based on what Druckmann rambled about.
Yeah, it'd be Ready at Dawn.
Yeah.
Right, Ready at Dawn. No. Who's the Days Gone? Is it Ready at Dawn?
Bend.
Yeah. It would be from Bend most likely, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. Hassan writes in, will we ever hear anything from Santa Monica Studios? Could be the next God of War entry-ish, or is it just too soon? I the speculation is that Sony's going to have their showcase in September. Now, especially with State of Play being when they did theirs. So I would think that we know that Cory Barlog is not working on God of War anymore, and he's working on something else.
Sci-fi game.
Yeah. Years and years ago, there was a sci-fi game that was canceled by Sony Santa Monica. I don't know if this is still that same game or a rehash of that game. There's a potential that we could see like a very early onset of that, but if I had to guess, if we see anything for it this year, it's still a 2027 game.
Yeah, I almost feel like we might not get a showcase at all. I kind of hope
Right.
PlayStation just kind of does away with the showcase title and just makes everything a State of Play. So people
Well, they got to
don't go
announce the
into it.
Pro,
Yeah, but I almost feel like that would be a separate
right?
sort of thing. Now, also that could be a, depending on when they want to release
A blog
it.
post.
Yeah, I mean, based on how they announce some stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where like I kind of hope PlayStation does away with the showcase thing, so people don't go in a State of Plays expecting it to suck. Like just make every showcase a State of Play. But yeah, I think if we do get the Cory Barlog game, that's gonna probably be one of those things where it's gonna be several years away. I would almost imagine we get a God of War game before we get that thing,
Yeah.
since we know they're kind of like a 2-game studio now.
I
But
could
yeah,
see a God of War Lost Legacy style thing though, with Atreus or something,
yeah, especially where Ragnarok ended. If you looked up spoilers, there's stuff you can do with God of War, and I would imagine if you're PlayStation right now, you might be like, do we risk a new IP or do we just do more God of War? And I would imagine they're just
Right.
kind of like leaning to just do more God of War.
Yeah.
But again, whatever happens, it's going to be 2027, 2028 for any of that stuff, because now games take 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I got the people mixed up. This was Josh in Facebook that asked a question about the Alan Wake DLC, and then there's this Mr. Dimmadome is Josh to me. So,
oh no, yeah, it's still another Josh. So
okay,
yeah.
So he writes this one he posted in the Discord. He's like, so this is kind of a loaded four question kind of thing.
Yeah.
In regards to Xbox, what does Xbox need to do at its showcase to restore confidence in its player base, which seems to be at its lowest point since 2013? I honestly, I think they need to do similar to what they did last year, but a little bit better. Of here are 10 games coming out in the next 6 months, and here are all the dates of these games.
Yeah, they need to spend the first half hour talking about the games that are coming out this year. And then the second half hour needs to be the games that are coming out next year. And don't go beyond.
Right.
Don't
next say
year.
Elder Scrolls 2029. Don't say in development. Like at this point in time, like you need to focus on the here and the now.
You need to come across like you have a fucking plan.
Yeah.
And you're not just throwing darts at the IP board. Like you need to be focused and be like, hey, we are launching the games we said we're going to launch this year.
And they honestly, they need to shadow drop 1 or 2 things.
Small things.
Yeah.
They need to be small, but you also have to like. I don't want to see any more Obsidian announcements.
Right.
I want to see Avowed. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want, like they did Obsidian the last couple of years where Obsidian announced like 4 games. It's like, don't do that.
And I don't want to see any more Flight Simulator stuff or Forza cars.
You're going to get that. New Flight Simulators coming out this year, so you're going to get that. You're going to get a new Forza. Sorry, Dave. But that's at least something consistent they can release.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
like,
I
that's
get
something
it.
they need.
But we know it's coming. We know what's going to look like. We know what's going to play like. Like, talk about the stuff that people are, talk about a reason for somebody to go, I'm going to go. Like, I want people to walk away from that showcase, or friends to tell them, hey, go watch this showcase because this is why you either need to go get a Series X or you need to get Game Pass. Like,
I would say you need Flight Simulator, you need Forza in there, because that would be part of like, these are games we can put a release date on.
Yeah.
So then you can say there's one more game that we know is coming, as opposed to what their previous plan was, where it's like, shit, maybe in 5 years we'll make this game.
Right.
Like, they need to hit things. And also, I almost feel like this might not be the place to do it, but there's a couple projects at Xbox that we don't know if they're still alive.
Yeah.
Talking about you, Perfect Dark. This might be the spot where you either confirm that it's still working, it's still happening, or you talk about the studio doing something different.
Yeah.
because there's too many like things that are hanging over Xbox right now.
But just release these games. Like get these games out. Outer Worlds 2, Avowed, Hellblade's out now. Whatever.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Indiana Jones will be out hopefully. Whatever. Like what's Psychonauts 2 studio doing next? Like that needs to be in the next like 12 months. Like these studios that you purchased, removing Bethesda from the equation, removing Activision from the equation, these prior purchases you made prior to the pandemic, like what are they doing?
What's the We Happy? No, we already know what the We Happy Few team are doing. We actually know what some of them are doing, but do they have?
Are they still doing them?
Yeah, are they still doing it? Can we get a wellness check on these studios? And that means a trailer, release dates, and windows.
Yeah.
For that stuff, that's what Microsoft does. Microsoft just needs to actually like produce shit, which is something that people will give me and Dave shit about. Like we're Xbox fanboys, which we're not, but we've been saying for 2 years. They need to produce shit.
Yeah.
And they're at a breaking point now where like they need to fucking produce shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's crazy.
So and then he continues in the Discord. Rumors suggest that some Xbox gamers are launching on PlayStation. Does Xbox acknowledge this at the showcase or later? How would you do it given the backlash from the small games being announced earlier this year? If I'm Phil Spencer and the Xbox team, I just don't talk about it. Like
the opposite. But go on.
I just think you just release them. Like he's kind of already said what he said like 2 months ago of like there's a select few things of games where we feel like they've served their purpose on our platforms and we're trying to grow that base, and that's what we're doing with these games.
Yeah, and I think specifically, if you know it's coming to PlayStation day one, fucking say it. Don't say, and other consoles, or don't mention it. Literally be like, and coming to PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, or whatever.
Yeah, I agree with
say
that.
Like
if you show a trailer for the Outer Worlds 2, like put the PlayStation logo on there.
Yeah,
like don't
you can still put the Game Pass tag on it, but you acknowledge that you're putting this stuff on multi-platform stuff.
But I guess what I'm talking about is if they're going to release Hellblade 2 on PlayStation, I don't think that warrants Phil Spencer talking about it.
No. Unless Hellblade 2 was really successful and you want to be like, hey, Hellblade 2 had this many people playing day one, and also we're going to bring the PlayStation fans in on this starting whenever the fuck that would be.
I'm just using that as like an example.
Yeah.
Like they're selling well because, like we see like how well Xbox games are doing on PlayStation because the install base is so large. Yeah. So it is what it is. It's you're leaving money on the table. It's the same philosophy I have with Sony getting their single player narrative games on PC sooner. Like you're leaving money on the table. We saw the success of Ghost of Tsushima 2 on PC. How much more potential success would that have been if it did day and date on console and on PC? Not that would have been a thing back then when Ghost came out, but is that enough to offset the possibility of potential loss of console sales, but a significant increase of software sales? Like that's the part that we'll never really know the answer to.
Yeah.
So, and then he's short one here. Do we see Gear 6? I don't think so.
I think we do.
Okay.
The Coalition have not produced anything.
I think we see a remake.
I can see a remake. I think we do see a Gears something, though.
I agree with that. I don't think it's 6 though.
Yeah, but I don't think if we're getting a remake, we're getting a full from the ground up remake of Gears. We're not getting like a compilation. Here's Gears 1, 2, and 3 together. It's either Gear 6 or we're getting it's either a full on remake, Gear 6, or it's a complete like reboot of the franchise
with Funko
like
Pop.
Restart. That game was successful apparently, so don't laugh. I hate Funko Pops too, but still.
I don't.
Oh yeah, you don't. You have some in the background. I hate Funko Pops. But yeah, it's been a long time since the Coalition released fucking anything. I think, God, was it Gears Tactics in 2020 according to their wiki? Apparently they helped on Infinite and Matrix Awakens, but like it's been a long time for the Coalition, so this is definitely time for them to do something with Gears. And this is what Xbox needs. Is like, hey, remember the franchise you used to love?
Yeah.
We can still make those games.
Yeah.
We haven't abandoned them for Bethesda and Activision.
And then we kind of touched on this a little bit. Will there be a new tier for Game Pass? And if so, how do you think it will be split up? day and date in the top tier only, Call of Duty in top tier only, etc. I don't think that we see a change to Game Pass next at the showcase. I don't think we see a change to Game Pass in 2024.
Yeah, I think the only, like I said earlier, I think if anything, I can see the core tier being tweaked. I don't know how you would tweak it, but definitely Call of Duty will be an ultimate only.
Right.
And it'd be a matter of like what's it, because the core one's weird. It's like what, 25 games that are
live
on it?
and 25 games that are always on Game Pass.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where core almost feels unnecessary, but they wanted to be able to pull people in at a lower cost. And I just feel like that tier is probably useless, to be honest. So I'd imagine it would be a good time to maybe get rid of that tier. And just tell people like, hey, deal with it. You got to pay Ultimate. Like every other subscription service is expensive as shit. Like trying to pretend you're giving people a deal by telling them they have to pay for core for 25 games on top of their live is pointless.
All right, and our last question of the night is from Grey Ghost. This is a you question. So, will there be a Dragon Age gameplay reveal and launch date? Before you answer, though, do we even know, is EA talking during Summer Game Fest?
They're not currently on the calendar.
Yeah.
So I think we get a trailer for Dragon Age.
Like Keighley gets a trailer.
Yes, for Summer Game Fest.
Okay.
I can also see it at Xbox.
Okay.
Partnership.
Yeah.
We're not getting a release date. That will be saved for the Game Awards. So we will get a trailer.
So that means it's not coming out this year.
No, I think it's going to be a spring game.
Okay.
I think it's like a March, April game. But yeah, I think we get a trailer, nothing big, no gameplay. We get another fucking cinematic trailer or teaser, and we'll get a full gameplay trailer at the Game Awards, which means it releases in the spring.
Okay.
Unless EA announces randomly that they're doing one. I pulled up the Summer Game Fest
Ubisoft
calendar.
just announced, I think they just dated their forward or just started talking about it again, although I feel like they dated it like 2 months ago.
Yeah, let me pull up the Summer Game Fest calendar, but I'm pretty sure someone had tweeted out earlier that like there were 40 showcases last year and there's only 25 on the calendar currently for this year. So we're 7 days away from Summer Game Fest. What?
Yeah, it's May 30th, buddy.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
So it goes 30, 31, 1, just so you know. And it all starts on the 6th or 7th, right?
Yeah, it starts on the 7th. So yeah. I don't see EA on the calendar just yet, but EA is also big enough that they could be like, I think they've done it in July before.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they also can come out like on June 6th and say, hey, we're going to do a showcase on June 9th at 8 p.m.
Yeah, we're at Games Fest.
Yeah.
Here's our showcase. So, yeah. Dragon Age will eventually come out. There was a bunch of leaks of gameplay like 2 months ago. It looked like it could be interesting, and it looks like it's well enough in development that we should be getting something this year.
Okay.
Reveal-wise.
Sure. You'll just be disappointed. We'll make your bingo card and we'll just put Dragon Age all over it.
Fucking BioWare fans, man. You just got to deal with it.
All right. So that is our show. Those are our questions. That's our stuff for this week. As we're getting ramped up into Game Fest, like we just mentioned, please send us questions, suggestions, predictions of what you want to see, what you hope to see. Like we can have a conversation around it. And that's always it's always fun and intriguing. Michael and I will try to get our ducks in a row and maybe put some time frames on some stuff, and maybe we'll put out a little schedule of a tentative schedule of our plans. News dependent, obviously. Like if somebody does a showcase that's amazing that we didn't think was going to be amazing, we'll do something. If somebody does something that like, oh, we're going to record after the Ubisoft Forward, and I'm not picking on Ubisoft when I say this, we're like, and then at the end of it, Michael texted me like, yeah, we don't even need to do that.
I will put this out there now. There likely won't be an episode Thursday since Summer Game Fest is next Friday. We might need to figure out something that way.
So you're almost talking about taking off next week in general because everything's going to be dead.
A couple days at least for next week, because we might have to record either Friday night or Saturday night so we can cover Summer Game Fest.
I got you.
Because there's going to be no news dropping Tuesday, Wednesday with Summer Game Fest on Friday.
So you're talking about possibly recording on Friday the 7th.
Potentially. We'll have to see how things go.
But not seeing any reason to record on the 4th or the 5th.
Yeah, basically.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll figure that stuff out. You guys don't have to worry about that.
Which is fine with me because there's Destiny stuff to play.
but also like Xbox showcases that Sunday, so it's just like it's gonna be hard juggling all that, but we'll figure it out. Might just be a super long episode that we record,
or we
Sunday.
do the reverse and we just run down here for half an hour and dip.
Potential.
Do what like Gamer Tag Radio does. Episode 12, 7 minutes. Episode 13, 25 minutes. I love Danny, but sometimes he just interview episode 20.
Gotta get that episode. You want to hit that episode number? You do it.
But yeah, you can follow us on Twitter. The main account is at Digital Days Pod. Michael's account is at the first MJC. You can see him tweet about Mountain Dew cans and it blow up.
250,000 people. My Twitter was fucking broken. Like I could not.
I almost was gonna text you like, do I need to go to the store for you and look for cans?
Nope. Only needed 3 bottles. Got the bottles. Then muted Mountain Dew on Twitter. Unless they want to sponsor.
Hashtag please.
I was a Mountain Dew influencer and Final Fantasy 14 influencer for like a weekend. It was weird.
You can follow myself at Good Dave Hunt. Our Facebook group and Discord server are linked in the show notes, and Patreon is linked in the show notes as well. Yeah, so keep an eye on the socials and on the Discord. I need to do a better job of updating the Discord. Because Michael does an amazing job of updating Twitter and Facebook, and I'm supposed to be the Discord guy, so I got to do a better job of just copying and pasting his stuff and put it in Discord, just to keep people apprised of what's going on. I probably just need to make like a podcast channel that starts the like auto upload whenever like the show gets posted and everything like that, just for everybody's sanity. Wyatt, if you're out there somewhere, I need your help with that, Discord boy.
I might see if we could just get a link it to YouTube, so when it goes live, it's a watch party thing. Well, again, we'll figure that out.
I have our producer is will be on summer break in 14 days, so she can start producing more. She can start training herself on Discord better. So, but other than that, I hope everyone has a great week, and we will talk to you next week. Sometime. I'm not committing to
or next, not this Sunday, but next Sunday. Which is sounding more and more likely.
Yeah. So, I hope everyone has a great week and keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya. All right.
Exporting. All right, those of you that are still hanging out in chat, anybody got anything or any questions, comments? Who's all still in
here? Yeah, I thought we had one more week before Game Fest.
Bot. Curry's still here. These other names, Tom's hanging around in there a little bit. These other names I don't recognize. So. That's 5. So cool. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for hanging out, and have a great night.